The stars looked different from this far out. Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Intrepid, her eyes fixed on the massive space station that hung against the backdrop of an unfamiliar purple-tinged nebula. After centuries of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. Not only were they not alone, but they were very, very late to the party. "Final approach cleared, Captain," said Lieutenant Paul Winters from the navigation console. "The Galactarian docking control says to proceed to Bay 94. Lisa nodded, trying to hide her nervousness. This was humanity's first official diplomatic mission to meet the rulers of the so-called Galactic Empire, or as they called themselves, the Galactarian Dominion. 6 months ago, Earth ships had encountered alien vessels at the edge of the solar system. Those first meetings had been tense but peaceful. The aliens informed humanity that most of the galaxy was already under the control of the Galactarians, a species that had been spacefaring for over 10,000 years. "Remember, everyone," Lisa said to her bridge crew. "We represent all of Earth today. Let's make a good impression." John Daniels, the mission's chief diplomat, stood beside her. He was a tall man with kind eyes and graying hair at his temples. "The briefing materials suggest we should expect some cultural arrogance. The Galactarians consider themselves the pinnacle of evolution." "Well, they haven't met humans yet," Lisa replied with a small smile. The Intrepid eased into the massive docking bay of the space station. Through the viewports, Lisa could see dozens of alien ships of various designs. The Earth vessel, their pride and joy back home, looked small and primitive by comparison. As the ship settled into its berth, John reviewed his notes one last time. "Emperor Xylox IV has ruled for over 300 years. Their species lives for centuries. He's likely never met anyone who wasn't already aware of his customs and protocols." "So we're exotic novelties," Lisa said. "Precisely. Which could work in our favor. Or against us." An hour later, after passing through what seemed like endless security checks, Lisa, John, and 3 other crew members were escorted through grand corridors. Aliens of various species moved about their business. Some looked almost human, while others defied description. Many stopped to stare at the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to disgust. Their escort, a tall 6-limbed being with silvery skin, led them to an enormous set of doors decorated with intricate patterns of what appeared to be gold and gemstones. "You will bow when the Emperor enters," the escort instructed. "You will not speak unless spoken to. You will keep your eyes lowered. Breaking protocol is punishable by death." The alien's translator made the words sound flat, but the threat was clear. The doors swung open to reveal a vast chamber. The ceiling arched hundreds of feet overhead, with light streaming in through colored windows. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat an elaborate throne. The humans were positioned in the center of the room and told to wait. Officials and nobles of various species lined the walls, watching with interest. After 20 minutes of standing, a fanfare of alien music blared. Everyone in the room dropped to their knees. The escort hissed at the humans to do the same. Emperor Xylox IV entered through a side door. He was taller than a human by at least 2 feet, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer. 4 arms emerged. From his ornate robes, and his elongated head featured 3 sets of eyes arranged vertically. He moved with slow, deliberate steps to his throne. Once seated, he gestured for everyone to rise. "So," the Emperor's voice boomed through his translator, "these are the primitives from the backwater world." His 6 eyes studied the humans with something between amusement and contempt. John Daniels stepped forward as rehearsed. "Great Emperor, we bring greetings from Earth and the united governments of humanity. We come in peace and friendship, hoping to establish—" "Yes, yes," the Emperor waved one of his hands dismissively. "I've heard similar speeches from 100 species. All now serve the Dominion faithfully." Lisa noticed how the Emperor's casual disrespect made John's jaw tighten, but the diplomat continued smoothly. "We are eager to learn about galactic culture and share our own. Humans have a rich history of art, science, and—" The Emperor laughed, a harsh sound that made Lisa wince. "Science? Your fastest ships barely break light speed. Your weapons are crude. Your medicine primitive. What could you possibly teach the masters of the galaxy? Murmurs and chuckles rippled through the assembled aliens. Perhaps we could discuss trade relationships, John tried again. Earth has unique resources and Earth has nothing we need, the Emperor cut in. But the Dominion is generous. We will accept your planet's surrender and incorporation into the Empire. Your people will be assigned appropriate tasks according to their limited abilities. Lisa felt her face grow hot with anger. John remained outwardly calm, but his voice tightened. With respect, Emperor, we did not come here to surrender. We came to establish diplomatic relations as equals. The room fell silent. Even the escort seemed shocked by this statement. The Emperor slowly rose from his throne. Equals, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. There are no equals to the Galactarian Dominion. There are rulers and there are servants. Your species' arrogance is amusing but misplaced. He gestured to one of his guards. Educate them. The guard stepped forward, raising a metal rod. Before anyone could react, he struck John across the face with it. The diplomat fell to his knees, blood streaming from his nose. This is how we deal with disrespect, the Emperor announced. Something snapped in Lisa. Acting on pure instinct, she lunged forward past the guard and did the unthinkable. Her open palm connected with the Emperor's face in a resounding slap. The sound echoed in the sudden, shocked silence of the chamber. For a moment, nobody moved. The Emperor's hand slowly rose to his cheek, his 6 eyes wide with disbelief. In 300 years of rule, no being had ever dared to touch him with violence. Then chaos erupted. Guards swarmed forward, weapons drawn. The humans were thrown to the floor, pinned under the weight of armored aliens. Impossible, the Emperor finally sputtered. Inconceivable, Lisa, her face pressed to the floor by a guard's boot, could see dignitaries and nobles backing away in horror. Some were already fleeing the chamber. Execute them, the Emperor shrieked. Execute them all. As the humans were dragged away, Lisa caught a final glimpse of the Emperor. His face was contorted with rage, but beneath it, she saw something unexpected. Fear. In the holding cells below the Imperial Palace, John dabbed at his bloodied face with a cloth. Despite their dire situation, he looked at Lisa with a hint of admiration. So much for making a good impression, he said. He hit you, Lisa replied simply. No one hits my people. A guard appeared outside their cell. The execution is scheduled for the next cycle. The Emperor wants it broadcast across all Imperial worlds as a lesson to others. His translator made the words matter of fact, but his eyes, 3 yellow orbs, studied them with curiosity. Your people have never heard of humans before today, John said to the guard. Let me give you some free advice. Tell your Emperor he's made a terrible mistake. The guard made a dismissive gesture and walked away. Lisa sank down on the bare cell bench. I've doomed us all, haven't I? And maybe Earth, too. John shook his head. Maybe not. That communications officer, Andy Butler, he got a message off to the ship before they took our equipment. The Intrepid will alert Earth about what happened. And then what? We're light years from home. The Empire has technology centuries beyond ours. John leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. But they don't know humans like we do. They've never fought us, never seen what we're capable of when backed into a corner. Lisa looked up. You think Earth will fight an entire galactic empire because of us? I think, John said with a grim smile, that slapping their emperor might be the least of their problems once humanity gets involved. Admiral Samuel Wright stood before the large view screen in Earth's Defense Command Center, his face grim as he watched the recorded message for the 3rd time. The footage showed Captain Lisa Martinez slapping the alien emperor, followed by the violent arrest of the diplomatic team. The recording ended abruptly as communications officer Andy Butler was seized by guards. Play it again, President Olivia Garcia said. She sat at the head of the conference table, surrounded by Earth's top military and scientific advisors. As the video replayed, Dr. Alicia Bennett, Earth's leading xenobiologist, pointed to the Emperor's reaction. Look at his physical response. The Galactarians have never been studied up close, but that gesture, the way his secondary eyes widened, suggests extreme shock, possibly even fear. Fear? After a slap? General Frank Collins asked skeptically. Their society is built on strict hierarchy, Dr. Bennett explained. From what little intelligence we've gathered, no one has challenged the Emperor's authority in centuries. Physical contact might be taboo, especially from a lesser species, as they call us. President Garcia turned to Admiral Wright. What are our options? Limited, Madam President. The Intrepid managed to transmit their coordinates before communications were cut off. We know they're being held at the Empire's central space station near their home planet. It's several light years away, deep in their territory. Can we mount a rescue? She asked. General Collins cleared his throat. A direct military approach would be suicide. Their fleet outnumbers ours by thousands to one, but, he paused, we might have another option. All eyes turned to him. A small, elite team. In and out. Rescue our people before the Empire realizes what's happening. Impossible, one of the advisors scoffed. Their security... Actually, interrupted a voice from the back of the room. It's not impossible. Kyle Peterson stepped forward. Once a decorated Special Forces operative, he now worked as a civilian consultant for Earth defense. His face bore a long scar from his military days, but his eyes remained sharp and calculating. The Galactarians think we're primitive, Kyle continued. Their arrogance is our advantage. They won't expect us to have the technology or the audacity to infiltrate their space station. And do we have such technology? President Garcia asked. Dr. Bennett nodded. We've been reverse engineering some of the alien tech we've encountered. We have prototype stealth systems that might bypass their sensors. Might? Admiral Wright questioned. It's the best chance our people have, Kyle said firmly. We go in small, just a few operatives. I'll lead the team myself. President Garcia stood and walked to the window overlooking the sprawling Earth Defense headquarters. Below, soldiers trained and ships prepared for possible conflict. Humanity had only recently united after centuries of internal wars. Now they faced an external threat beyond anything they'd imagined. If you fail, she said without turning, it could mean war with the entire empire. A war we cannot win. And if we do nothing? Kyle asked. Our people die, and the empire sees us as weak. How long before they decide Earth would make a nice colony? The president turned back to face the room. Assemble your team, Mr. Peterson. You have my authorization for Operation Thunderclap. 3 days later, Kyle Peterson stood in the hangar bay examining the modified scout ship that would carry his team to the Empire's space station. The vessel was small, barely larger than an old-style passenger jet, but packed with experimental technology. She doesn't look like much, said Sofia Rodriguez as she approached. The tech specialist carried her personal equipment in a compact. Course, but I've checked the systems myself. She'll get us there. If your stealth tech works, Kyle replied. Sophia grinned. When has my tech ever failed you? There was that time in... That doesn't count, she interrupted. And I fixed it, didn't I? Eric Washington joined them, the combat specialist carrying significantly more gear than the others. Ships loaded, medical supplies, weapons, tactical gear, everything we could think of. He nodded toward the fourth member of their team, who was speaking quietly with Admiral Wright nearby. Doc's bringing her own special kit, too. Dr. Michelle Carter was a field medic with extensive knowledge of alien physiology. More importantly, she had studied the Galactarian language since first contact and could understand their communications without relying solely on translators. As the team made final preparations, President Garcia arrived to see them off. The hangar crew stood at attention as she approached. This mission is unofficial, she told the team quietly. If you're captured, Earth will deny all knowledge of your operation. Understood, Madam President, Kyle responded. But know this, she continued, her voice strong despite its softness. If you succeed, if you bring our people home, you'll have changed the course of human history. The Empire needs to learn that humans aren't to be underestimated. The team boarded the scout ship, now renamed Shadow. Kyle took the pilot's seat with Sophia beside him as co-pilot and systems operator. Eric and Michelle secured themselves in the rear compartment with their equipment. Pre-flight check complete, Sophia announced. Stealth systems operational. Kyle initiated the launch sequence. Shadow to control, requesting departure clearance. Clearance granted, Shadow. Good hunting. The small ship rose silently from the hangar floor. As it cleared Earth's atmosphere, Kyle engaged the experimental faster-than-light drive. The stars blurred and stretched before them as they vanished into the darkness of space. 5 days later, they emerged from FTL travel at the edge of the Galactarian home system. Ahead loomed the massive Imperial space station, surrounded by hundreds of ships of various sizes. Stealth systems holding, Sophia reported, her fingers dancing across her control panel. No indication they've detected us. I'm picking up their communications, Michelle said from her station. Lots of chatter about the humans. The execution is scheduled for tomorrow. Then we have less than 24 hours, Kyle said grimly. Eric, gear check. As Eric began inspecting their equipment one final time, Sophia suddenly stiffened. We've got movement. A prisoner transport is departing the station. On the main viewer, a small ship broke away from the station and began moving toward the nearby planet. They're moving the prisoners planetside, Michelle confirmed after listening to the communications. The Emperor wants the execution to take place in the Imperial Palace so he can witness it personally. Kyle frowned. A space station rescue had been difficult enough. Breaking into the Imperial Palace on the Galactarian homeworld seemed impossible. Options? He asked his team. Eric grinned darkly. If they're all going to be looking at our people, they won't be looking for us. We follow the transport, Sophia suggested. Use their landing approach to mask our signature. Kyle nodded slowly. The biggest, most secure building on an alien planet, crawling with guards, housing the ruler of most of the known galaxy. He looked at each member of his team, then smiled. Sounds like fun. The shadow turned and began trailing the prisoner transport at a safe distance. As the alien ship descended toward the blue-green planet below, the rescue team prepared for a mission that had just become exponentially more dangerous. Remember, Kyle told his team as they entered the planet's atmosphere, we're not here to start a war. We get our people and get out. And if we can't avoid a fight? Eric asked. Kyle's expression hardened. Then we show them why humans are the most dangerous species they've ever encountered. The city below them was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Towering spires of crystal and metal stretched toward the sky, connected by arching bridges that glowed with soft blue light. At the center stood the Imperial Palace, a massive structure that dwarfed all other buildings. Its walls shimmered with an iridescent material that changed colors as the planet's 2 suns moved across the sky. There's our target, Kyle said, pointing to a landing pad near the base of the palace where the prisoner transport was descending. Sophia, can you get us close without being detected? Sophia's fingers moved rapidly over the controls. I'm piggybacking. On their landing signal, their traffic control should see us as an echo of the transport, not a separate ship. And if they don't? Eric asked. Then things get interesting really fast, she replied with a tight smile. The shadow followed the transport, maintaining a careful distance. As the larger ship landed on the designated pad, Kyle guided their vessel to a maintenance area nearby, settling between 2 larger service ships. Atmospheric analysis complete, Michelle reported. Air is breathable, but has higher oxygen content than Earth. We might feel lightheaded at first. Kyle nodded. All right, let's go over the plan one more time. Michelle and I will take these service worker uniforms and try to locate our people. Sophia, you'll tap into their security system from here. Eric, you're our extraction specialist. Once we have a location, you'll create our exit strategy. What about guards? Eric asked, checking his weapons one last time. Non-lethal takedowns only, Kyle emphasized. We're here to rescue our people, not start an interstellar war. The team synchronized their communication devices and checked their equipment. Each carried a small translator device based on the technology they'd acquired from first contact. If we're not back in 6 hours, return to Earth, Kyle instructed. Tell them what happened and prepare for the worst. Eric clasped Kyle's arm in the traditional military farewell. We're not leaving without you. That's an order, not a suggestion, Kyle replied firmly, but he appreciated the sentiment. Kyle and Michelle donned the service worker uniforms they'd fabricated based on images from their surveillance. The outfits wouldn't hold up to close inspection, but they might allow them to move through less secure areas without immediate detection. They exited the ship through a maintenance hatch, careful to avoid the security cameras Sophia had identified. The air was indeed rich with oxygen, giving them a slight buzzing sensation as they breathed. Two guards approaching from the north, Sophia's voice came through their earpieces. Take the service corridor to your right. They slipped into the narrow passage just as two tall Galactarian guards rounded the corner. Through a small gap in the doorway, Kyle observed the guards' movements and equipment. Their weapons were holstered, a good sign that security wasn't on high alert. I'm into their network, Sophia reported after a few minutes. Security is heavy around the central chambers. That must be where the Emperor is. There's also increased activity in the lower levels, sub-level 3. Could be where they're holding our people. Can you get us access to that level? Kyle asked, working on it. These systems are advanced but surprisingly familiar, like they borrowed the architecture from somewhere else. Michelle and Kyle made their way through the service corridors, following Sophia's directions to avoid patrols. They passed various alien species, some humanoid, others wildly different, all wearing similar service uniforms. Most of them aren't looking at us, Michelle whispered. It's like they're deliberately avoiding eye contact. Servants in a rigid hierarchy, Kyle guessed. Keep your head down and act like you belong. They reached a service elevator that Sophia had indicated would take them to the lower levels. As the doors closed, Michelle studied the control panel. The symbols match what I've studied, she said, pressing a sequence of buttons. This should take us to sub-level 3. The elevator descended rapidly. When the doors opened, they found themselves in a stark corridor with harsh lighting, very different from the ornate upper levels of the palace. Prison level, Kyle muttered. Now we need to find... He stopped as they turned a corner and nearly collided with a group of guards escorting several prisoners. Kyle pulled Michelle back just in time to avoid being seen. The prisoners shuffled past their hiding spot, chained together. They weren't human. Their skin was a mottled green and they had 4 arms like the Galactarians but were smaller in stature. Another species that displeased the Emperor, Michelle guessed. Kyle nodded grimly. Let's keep moving. They continued, through the prison level, careful to avoid the regular guard patrols. After several tense minutes, Sophia's voice came through their earpieces again. I found them, Section D7. But there's a problem. They're scheduled for transfer to the execution chamber in 15 minutes. Kyle and Michelle hurried, following Sophia's directions through the maze-like corridors. They finally reached a heavy door marked with alien symbols. This is it, Michelle confirmed, but we need access. Sophia, can you open it remotely? Kyle asked. Negative. It's on a separate security system. You'll need a guard's access card. Kyle looked down the corridor. Then we'll get one. Wait here, he moved silently toward the guard station at the end of the hallway. A single Galactarian sat at a control panel, monitoring screens that showed various cells. Kyle approached from behind, applied a precise pressure point technique they'd developed based on Dr. Bennett's research, and the guard slumped unconscious. Kyle returned with the access card. Michelle swiped it against the door panel, and the heavy door slid open. Inside, they found Captain Lisa Martinez, John Daniels, and the other 3 crew members from the Intrepid. They looked up in shock as Kyle and Michelle entered. Earth sent you? Lisa asked in disbelief. No time to explain, Kyle said, quickly moving to release their restraints. We have an extraction plan, but we need to move now. As they freed the prisoners, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Sophia, what's happening? Kyle demanded. They've discovered the unconscious guard, she replied urgently. All security personnel are being alerted. You need to move. The freed prisoners followed Kyle and Michelle back into the corridor. John Daniels was limping badly, and one of the other crew members had to support him. We won't make it back to the landing pad, Kyle realized. Sophia, we need an alternate route. Working on it, she replied. There's a maintenance shaft 3 corridors over that leads to a waste disposal area. You might be able to reach the outer perimeter that way. They hurried through the corridors, now hearing the sound of running footsteps and shouted orders. As they turned a corner, they came face to face with two Galactarian guards. Eric's voice suddenly came through their earpieces. "Change of plans, I'm coming in. Meet me at the North Service entrance." Before Kyle could respond, they heard the distant sound of explosions from the upper levels. "What was that?" Lisa asked. "That," Kyle said with a grim smile, "is our distraction." The palace was now in chaos. Alarms blared and the sound of running footsteps echoed from all directions. Guards rushed past them, heading toward the source of the explosions, barely giving the humans a second glance. "Sophia," Kyle called, "guide us to Eric's position. Take the next left, then 2 rights, she directed. "But hurry, I'm detecting a massive security response mobilizing." As they followed her directions, they passed cells containing prisoners of various alien species. Many pressed against the transparent barriers, watching the humans with what seemed like hope in their strange eyes. John Daniels slowed, staring at the prisoners. "We can't just leave them." "That's not the mission," Kyle said firmly. "No," Lisa agreed, looking at the aliens. "But maybe it should be." Kyle hesitated only briefly. "Sophia, can you trigger a general cell release?" "That would trigger every alarm in the system," she warned. "Perfect," Kyle replied, "and do it." The decision was made. What had begun as a rescue mission was about to become something much more. Chaos erupted throughout the prison level as cell doors slid open with a synchronized hiss. Confused prisoners emerged cautiously at first, then with growing confidence as they realized what was happening. Aliens of dozens of species filled the corridors, some rushing immediately for exits, others helping fellow inmates who were weak or injured. "This way," Kyle shouted above the noise, leading the humans toward the North Service entrance where Eric waited. The freed diplomatic team followed close behind, with Lisa helping John, who still limped from his injuries. Their earpieces crackled with Sophia's voice. "Palace security is in complete disarray. They're trying to lock down all exits, but there are too many breaches to contain." As they turned a corner, they nearly collided with a group of palace guards. For a moment, both groups froze in surprise. Then, one of the aliens raised his weapon. Before he could fire, something large and powerful knocked him sideways. A hulking prisoner with rocky, textured skin had joined the humans' cause. The creature nodded once at Kyle before turning to engage the remaining guards. "We're making friends," Michelle observed as they continued running. More aliens joined them as they moved through the corridors, forming an impromptu alliance. One slender, blue-skinned being who moved with startling speed approached Lisa. "You are the one who struck the Emperor," it said in a melodic voice. "Word spread through the prison. Many here have waited generations for someone to stand against him." "I didn't plan to start a revolution," Lisa replied between breaths. "The greatest changes often begin with the smallest actions," the alien said. They reached a large service bay where Eric waited, holding the doors open. Outside, the landing area was in pandemonium as freed prisoners scattered in all directions, overwhelming the guards. "Our ship is 50 meters that way," Eric pointed, "but we've got company coming." A squad of elite guards in distinctive red armor was cutting through the crowd, heading directly toward them. These weren't ordinary security forces. They moved with precision and purpose. "The Emperor's personal guard," said the blue alien beside Lisa. "They will not stop until you are captured." Kyle assessed the situation quickly. "Sophia, can you get the ship closer?" "Negative," she replied. "Too many people in the landing zone now. You'll have to make it to me." "Eric, we need cover," Kyle ordered. Eric nodded and pulled several small devices from his pack. "Smoke and sonic disruptors. Should confuse their sensors and give us a window." He activated the devices and tossed them in different directions. Immediately, plumes of dense smoke filled the area, while high-pitched sounds caused the Galactarian guards to clutch at their hearing organs in pain. "Now!" Kyle shouted. The humans ran through the chaos, staying close together. Around them, other escaping prisoners provided additional confusion, making it harder for the guards to focus on the humans. They had almost reached the shadow when a metallic sphere rolled into their path and exploded with a blinding flash. The humans stumbled, temporarily disoriented. When Kyle's vision cleared, he saw that they were surrounded by the Emperor's guards. Their red armor gleamed through the dissipating smoke, weapons pointed at the humans. "Surrender now," the lead guard commanded. Lisa stepped forward. "We're not your enemy. Your Emperor imprisoned us for nothing more than suggesting our species could be equals." "It is not our place to question the Emperor's decisions," the guard replied, though Kyle noticed hesitation in his voice. "Look around you." Lisa gestured to the chaos of the prison break. "How many innocent beings has your Emperor imprisoned? How many species has he subjugated just to maintain his power?" Before the guard could respond, a massive explosion rocked the landing area. One of the larger Imperial ships had been commandeered by escaping prisoners and was now firing on the palace defenses. The distraction gave Eric the opening he needed. He triggered another sonic disruptor, this one calibrated specifically for Galactarian hearing. The guards doubled over in pain. "Go!" Eric shouted. The humans sprinted the final distance to their ship. Sophia had the engines ready. As soon as everyone was aboard, she initiated the launch sequence. The shadow rose from the ground just as more guards arrived, their weapon fire bouncing harmlessly off the ship's shields. "We're clear," Sophia announced as they accelerated away from the palace. "But we've got pursuit craft launching." On the main screen, they could see several sleek Imperial fighters rising to follow them. "Can we outrun them?" Kyle asked. "Not a chance," Sophia replied. "Their ships are faster." They felt a jolt as the first shots from the pursuit craft struck their shields. "Shields at 80%, Sophia reported. "We can't take much more of that." Lisa moved to the communications panel. "Let me try something." She activated the transmitter. "This is Captain Lisa Martinez of Earth to Imperial fighters. Stand ye. Down your attack." The only response was another volley of fire against their shields. "Worth a shot," Lisa sighed. Then, unexpectedly, the view outside changed. The Imperial fighters were suddenly under attack themselves as dozens of ships of various designs, the stolen vessels of escaped prisoners, engaged them from all sides. "The enemy of my enemy," John Daniels said with a smile. The Imperial fighters broke off pursuit of the shadow to deal with the greater threat of the prison uprising. This gave Sophia the opening she needed to plot a course away from the planet. "We're clear of the atmosphere," she announced, preparing for FTL jump. As the stars began to blur around them, the communication system suddenly activated. A message came through in heavily accented English. "Humans of Earth," a voice said. "This is Nixal of the Centauri Free Alliance. Your actions today have inspired something unprecedented, unity among the oppressed species of the Empire. The news of your defiance is spreading across the galaxy." Kyle looked at Lisa. "Seems like you did more than slap an emperor." "What will happen to the prisoners who escaped?" she asked the alien on the communication channel. "Some will scatter to the outer systems. Others, like my people, will use this opportunity to reclaim our home worlds. The Emperor's grip was already weakening in the outer territories. This may be the beginning of the end for the Galactarian Dominion." As the transmission ended, Admiral Wright's voice suddenly came through on the emergency Earth channel. "Shadow, this is Earth Defense Command. Report status." "Mission accomplished, Admiral," Kyle replied. "All diplomatic personnel recovered. But sir, the situation has evolved." "Evolved how?" the Admiral asked. Kyle looked around at his team and the rescued diplomats. "Sir, I think we might have accidentally started a galactic revolution." There was a long pause before the Admiral spoke again. "Get our people home, Peterson. Earth needs to prepare." "Prepare for what, sir?" "For whatever comes next." The Emperor won't take this insult lightly. As if to confirm his words, their long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures as the Imperial fleet mobilized. Dozens of warships were already leaving orbit. "They're not coming after us," Sophia realized as she analyzed the data. "They're forming a battle group, heading directly for Earth." The humans exchanged grim looks. Their rescue mission had succeeded, but now their home planet faced the wrath of the most powerful empire in the galaxy. How long until they reach Earth? Lisa asked quietly. At their speed, about 2 weeks, Sophia answered. Kyle turned to her. Then we need to get home first. We need to warn Earth what's coming. The shadow accelerated to its maximum FTL speed, racing against time to reach Earth before the Imperial fleet. The fate of humanity now hung in the balance. Earth prepared for war. Every ship in the United Earth Defense Fleet was mobilized. Civilian vessels were armed and retrofitted for combat. Space stations around the solar system were converted into defensive positions, but everyone knew it wouldn't be enough against the might of the Galactic Empire. In the main war room of Earth Defense Command, Admiral Wright stood before a massive holographic display showing the approaching Imperial fleet. Over 300 warships were now just 3 days away from Earth. What's the status of the Venus defense grid? He asked. Online and operational, sir, an officer reported. But our simulations show it will only slow them down, not stop them. Lisa Martinez, now working directly with Defense Command, studied the display. Their formation is unusual. The lead ships are arranged in a ceremonial pattern, not tactical. The Emperor is with them, John Daniels explained. He had mostly recovered from his injuries, though he still walked with a slight limp. That's the traditional escort formation for an Imperial presence. Admiral Wright frowned. He's coming personally to oversee our destruction. Or he feels he has to, John suggested. After what happened, his authority might be questioned if he doesn't respond himself. President Garcia entered the room, followed by her senior advisors. Everyone stood at attention. At ease, she said. Have they responded to our communication? Attempts? No, Madam President, Admiral Wright replied. They're ignoring all hails. Then we proceed with Operation Harbinger, she decided. Begin the evacuation of major cities. Priority to children and essential personnel. As the others turned to carry out her orders, Kyle Peterson approached with Sophia Rodriguez and Beth Turner, a brilliant civilian engineer who had been working non-stop since their return to Earth. Madam President, Kyle said, we have a proposal that might give us an edge. Beth stepped forward, her eyes red from lack of sleep. We've been analyzing the Imperial ship's energy signatures. They all use the same power source, something similar to our fusion reactors but much more efficient. And more vulnerable, Sophia added. Their systems are designed for maximum power, not safety. We think we can exploit that. President Garcia listened intently as they explained their plan. When they finished, she looked to Admiral Wright. Your assessment? It's risky, he admitted, but it's the best chance we have. The president nodded. Make it happen. 2 days later, Earth's fleet moved into position. Every available ship formed a defensive perimeter around the planet. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had one advantage the Imperials didn't expect: humanity's indomitable will to survive. On the bridge of the flagship, renamed Defiance, Admiral Wright addressed the combined fleet. Today we fight, not just for Earth, but for every species that has suffered under Imperial rule. We fight for our right to exist as equals in this galaxy. The enemy believes we are primitive and weak. Today we prove them wrong. The Imperial fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel exactly where predicted. Their massive ships dwarfed Earth's vessels. At the center of their formation was the Emperor's personal ship, a behemoth twice the size of any other vessel. They're hailing us, the communications officer announced. On screen, Admiral Wright ordered. Emperor Xylox IV appeared on the main display. His 6 eyes narrowed at the sight of the humans. So, the primitives have gathered their toys to greet us. How amusing. This is Admiral Samuel Wright of the United Earth Defense Force. We have no desire for conflict. We ask that you return to your territory and leave Earth in peace. The Emperor laughed. Peace? After your kind laid hands on my royal person? After you incited rebellion across my empire? The only peace you will know is extinction. Lisa Martinez stepped into view of the camera. Your empire is built on the oppression of others. We freed your prisoners because it was the right thing to do, just as standing up to you was the right thing to do. The Emperor's expression darkened at the sight of her. The human who dared strike me. You will watch as your world burns before you join your people in death. The transmission cut off. Immediately, the Imperial fleet began moving into attack. Formation. All ships implement Harbinger protocols, Admiral Wright commanded. Fighter squadrons, launch now. Commander Ryan Miller led Earth's fighter squadron into space. His pilots were the best Earth had to offer, trained in tactics that the Empire had never encountered. They didn't fight in rigid formations like Imperial pilots. Instead, they used the unpredictable, adaptive strategies that had defined human warfare for centuries. Remember your training, Ryan told his pilots. They expect us to be predictable, be anything but. The battle began with a massive barrage from the Imperial warships. Energy weapons lashed out at Earth's defensive line. Several smaller Earth vessels were hit, but the majority held their positions. Their weapons are powerful, but slow to recharge, Sophia reported from her station. Exploiting the gap now, Earth ships responded with their own attack. Instead of targeting the Imperial vessels directly, they fired specialized projectiles designed by Beth Turner. These devices attached to the hulls of enemy ships and began transmitting disruption signals that interfered with their power systems. Phase 1 complete, Beth announced. Phase 2 ready to execute on your command. Admiral Wright nodded. Do it. Throughout the Imperial fleet, the devices activated simultaneously. They didn't damage the ships directly. Instead, they forced the Imperial vessel's own power systems to overload. Warning alarms blared across the enemy fleet as their weapons systems shut down to prevent catastrophic failures. On the Emperor's flagship, panic spread. Grand Admiral Vexlor rushed to his ruler's side. My Emperor, they've somehow compromised our power grid. Weapons are offline, shields are failing. Impossible! The Emperor raged. These are primitives. How could they? His words were cut short as a small Earth vessel appeared directly in front of his viewing window. It was the Defiance with Admiral Wright, Lisa Martinez, and John Daniels, visible on its bridge. Emperor Xylox. Admiral Wright's voice came through the communication system. Your fleet is disabled. Your weapons are offline. We could destroy you now if we wished. The Emperor's face contorted with fury. Then do it. Show your true savage nature. That's the difference between us, Lisa said calmly. We don't destroy what we don't understand. We don't conquer those who are different from us. We seek cooperation, not domination. John Daniels stepped forward. You called us primitives, but look around you. Your mighty fleet, disabled by a species you dismissed as beneath you. Perhaps it's time to reconsider your assessment of humanity. For long moments, the Emperor said nothing. Reports continued to come in from across his fleet. Systems failing, weapons offline, and now news of uprisings on dozens of Imperial worlds. Finally, Grand Admiral Vexlor spoke quietly. My Emperor, we must consider our options. The humans have shown mercy we would not have granted in their position. The Emperor's shoulders slumped slightly, an almost imperceptible gesture, but one that spoke volumes to those who understood Imperial body language. What are your terms? He asked, his voice hollow. Admiral Wright outlined the conditions. Earth's independence, freedom for all species that wish to leave the Empire, and a new galactic council where all intelligent species would have equal representation. When he finished, the Emperor looked directly at Lisa Martinez. All this because of one human's defiance, one slap that echoed across the galaxy. Lisa met his gaze steadily. Sometimes the smallest actions reveal the greatest truths. The Emperor nodded slowly. So it seems. Very well, human. You have your peace. The Galactic Empire requests a formal ceasefire. As the humans celebrated their unexpected victory, John Daniels leaned toward Lisa. You know, he said with a small smile, in all of recorded history, I don't think anyone has ever gotten away with slapping an emperor. Lisa watched as the Imperial fleet began its retreat. Maybe more people should try it. And across the galaxy, as news of Earth's victory spread, the balance of power shifted forever. The species that had lived under Imperial rule for generations began to stand tall, inspired by the humans who had done the impossible, who had made the mighty Galactic Empire beg for mercy with nothing more than courage, ingenuity, and one unforgettable slap.